Hi there.
Hi.
What can I do for you?
So I have a question of evidence.
Okay.
So it seems to be like the general operating procedure that if I'm physically in Wisconsin, that the Constitution and laws apply to me. Would I be correct in saying that?
What
Would be the operating procedure of your police department here? That if I'm physically here, that means that the Constitution and the laws of the state of Wisconsin apply to me?
Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
So now my question is, what evidence do you have, if any, to prove that that's true? That just because I'm physically here, that the laws and the Constitution apply to me?
You are afforded all the rights, same rights as any citizen.
Well, it's nice, but that's what I'm asking for is evidence, factual evidence that the Constitution and the laws do apply to me. In fact,
They do because we make sure they're applied to you.
well, so they apply to me because you guys
'Cause you're
enforce
here.
them.
Because you're here.
So that's
No, it's not enforced. It's you're afforded those rights.
afforded those rights.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. You're afforded those rights being here.
So
And we're here in our duties to make sure that those rights are protected.
the laws apply because the laws apply.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Isn't that circular?
No. Do you have a more pointed question?
All right. So, do the laws apply, like, or is the evidence that the laws apply anything other than the gun on your hip there?
I'm not understanding the question.
So, your argument, it sounded like your position, rather, would be that because I'm here, the laws apply. So, and then you said you agreed that the laws apply because the laws say so.
What type of laws? Constitution laws?
Any of them, all of them. I'm asking in general, the Constitution and the laws of the state. So, I'm asking for evidence that they apply. Like, how does my physical location mean that they apply?
If you violate those laws, we will enforce those.
So, isn't that just an appeal to the stick? Basically, a logical fallacy where,
No.
well, if you do X, then this is what we're going to do to you.
No, this is if you violate a ordinance, a village ordinance or city ordinance, which we enforce.
Right.
Violate state law and some federal laws.
Okay.
We will investigate what actions you did. Bring those documents and that evidence that we have,
Right.
based on testimony and evidence procedures. Do you want me to go through all the evidence
Well,
things?
well, no. Well, I'm at.
Bring them in front of our
Right.
jurisdictional court, which is Marathon County Circuit Court.
Yep.
And they would look at it and issue charges if they felt that probable cause arose, which means that you violated one of the allegations we're bringing forward, whether it was a local ordinance or a state ordinance
Right.
or.
So, how could one violate an ordinance if it doesn't apply to them first? Meaning that.
It applies, as far as I'm concerned, when you are in our jurisdiction.
So,
You
how?
are required to know and be aware of local ordinances when you're in this jurisdiction, state law and federal law.
I'm in your jurisdiction.
In my jurisdiction,
Well,
yes.
what evidence do you have of that? Just my physical location
You're
again?
here and you are, if we believe you're violating it, we would develop probable cause based on what your actions are and the law says. And we would make a documentation of that and forward it to the DA's office.
So you don't have any evidence that they apply in the first place, meaning like the consent of the governed that was talked about in the Declaration of Independence?
They apply to you as you're sitting
Is that
here right now.
because you say so?
I don't make those rules. That's what, I'm
Well-
covered by the state statutes, okay?
So, well, right, so what evidence do you have that I am?
If you disagree with that, you're talking to the wrong person.
Well, actually, I
enforce
believe I'm
the-
talking to the right
I
person.
enforce the laws.
Right.
I don't make them.
Well, do the people who make the laws go out and force their will onto everybody else? Or is that you?
That's a legislator,
Yes.
okay? You know how the process works?
Mhm.
Okay? You can contact your legislator.
My
You're the voice of the people. You have representation at the state level and at the federal level. And that's how the laws are created.
Yeah. Well, actually, aren't they manifested through your actions?
No.
So if you guys
They-
didn't exist, how would these laws exist?
They create the laws. We enforce them.
How do they create them, though? They were by writing something down?
Yeah.
So then by writing something down, it magically applies to everybody here.
I don't know what you're saying.
What
I have
I'm
no idea
asking
what
is,
you're saying.
how is a group of men and women writing something down applied to me?
That
Just
has
because they
nothing to
say
do
so?
with- That doesn't have anything to do with the police department.
It doesn't.
No.
Don't you go and enforce what they write down?
Yeah? Yeah.
So you must have evidence then that linking what they write down to me.
All I do is take what the law says, okay? And you know how that is brought about.
So-
We've discussed that.
We're just following orders?
No. I'm looking at what your actions are and what the law says, okay? The ordinance is created There's processes. I'm not gonna get into all branches of the government.
You don't have to.
Okay, do you understand how that works here?
Well, I'm just asking what evidence there is that the laws apply, other than because
Do
you
have
say
anything
so,
important
or
here
because
to you,
the
or do you
laws
just wanna-
say so.
You're just trying to create a confrontation.
I'm not trying to create any confrontation. I was asking the police who go and enforce
I've
the.
already explained that to you.
the written
very
will-
clearly, very clearly.
So what you said is the laws apply because the laws say so.
The laws apply to you because you are in my jurisdiction, and they apply to anybody in this jurisdiction that I enforce. Okay, I've told you
Right,
that
that's
3
your opinion.
times now.
That's your opinion. I wouldn't
No,
expect you.
That's how that works.
It's so if it's how it works, then you would have some factual evidence that applies to me.
Yes, state statutes.
So how does the statute apply to me exactly? Because the statute says so? Isn't the
You need to read up on it a little
well,
bit more.
okay,
I'm not gonna
isn't the
give you a history
basis
lesson today.
on the statutes applying the Constitution, right? Would
I
I be
better-
accurate
I have
saying
better
that?
things to do with my time, okay?
Like going and enforcing laws without evidence?
I have better things to do with my time. All right, thank you.
Hey, maybe you should look into the courts. But hey, can I ask, how can anybody get a fair hearing if the judge represents the state and the prosecution represents the
If
state?
you don't believe the way the laws are written in this state.
I'm asking for
I'm not
facts.
gonna- I'm not gonna entertain your thoughts.
I'm asking for facts based on the people who use physical force on me if I don't comply.
Have a good day, okay?
Yep. Well, you heard it first. No evidence, just being here.